For many people, REITs are a great source of dividend income, and I'm having the exact same approach. REITs tend to have a higher dividend yield compared to traditional companies. That is because REITs need to pay out at least 75% of their income. But REITs are also a bit more complicated to analyze. For example, PE ratio is not a reliable metric, and we focus more on the price to FFO. Next to that, we also focus more on the net debt to EBITDA ratio to see if that REIT is healthy. And in this video I'm going to compare 8 different REITs to show you which REIT is the best option to buy based on these criteria. And in each round I'm going to give the winner of that round 3 points. And the number 2 gets 2 points. And the number 3 gets 1 point. At the end we are going to sum all the points to see who's the winner. So without further ado, let's dive into it. The first thing that we're going to take a look at is the portfolio size, indicating how big the REIT is in terms of assets. For me, this is really important since REITs are slightly higher riskier investments. The higher the portfolio, the more stable the company could be, is the assumption here. We see that Realty Income is by far the biggest company, with a total of 58 billion portfolio value, clearly the winner, yielding 3 points. And surprisingly, Vici is second with 35 billion. And WPC is coming in at the third place, with a 20 billion value portfolio, giving them 1 point. Next up is the 3-year revenue compound annual growth rate. This will tell us which REIT is growing the most in revenue. And again, we see that Realty Income is coming in first spot with 40%, which is an insane number. And Vici is also again in the second spot with 36%. In third we have ADC with 23%. EPR is significantly lower compared to the others, sitting at only 3%. And similar to the revenue, the 3-year net income compound annual growth rate is also really important. And here we see that EPR is first with a whopping 80%, massively outperforming all the other REITs in this list. Vici is coming in second for the third time in a row now, with 40%. And Realty Income is coming in third with 23%. And one thing to keep in mind is that if the revenue is growing at a higher rate than the net income, the margins are dropping. So with Realty Income growing at 40% in revenue but only 23% in net income, it means margins are falling big time. Stag Industrial even reports a negative net income growth, so keep your eye on these numbers. And one of the most important numbers for REITs is of course the FFO, especially how this is growing over the years. Vici reports a 225% increase in the past 5 years, which is an insane amount of course, earning them a full 3-pointer. EPR is coming in second with a whopping 96%, also really impressive, earnings 2 points. And third we have Realty Income sitting at 50%, also really nice. ADC is reporting only 5% and WPC and MAA reporting negative numbers, a big concern if you ask me. And as told in the beginning of this video, PE ratio is not a fair metric to evaluate a REIT. It's better to take a look at the price to FFO ratio. And personally I prefer a maximum of 15 here. So in order to give them the full points, I'm going to reward the range of 10 to 12.5 a full 3 points. The range of 12.5 to 15 gets 2 points, and above 15 are getting 0 points. Vici, MMM, WPC and EPR are getting the full 3 points, while Realty Income and Stag Industrial are getting 2 points. ADC and MAA are receiving 0 points at this stage. Next up is credit ratings, telling us how stable the REITs are rated and their investments. For us as dividend collectors, it is extremely important to report A credit ratings here. B is also a decent number, and C credit ratings are a red flag to me in general. Realty Income and MAA both reported A credit ratings, and both earnings the full 3 points here. All the others reported B credit ratings, giving them all 2 points in this case. And with half of the points awarded, it is time to check the scores so far. Vici is coming in at the first spot with a total of 14 points, really impressive. But Realty Income is right there, getting really close with 13 points. EPR is also doing an amazing job with 10 points. And dead last we have MAA and ADC. It's also interesting to see that there is a big gap between the number 3, EPR, and the number 4, WPC. So let's see if the other REITs are getting closer in part 2. Starting with the net debt to EBITDA, an extremely important number with REITs because they tend to have higher debt levels in general. So in order to see if a REIT is still at a healthy level, we want this range between 5 and 6.5. There is a maximum of 2 points to be earned if you are in this range. Above or below gives you 0 points. And we see that almost every REIT managed to report a net debt to EBITDA in this range, except ADC and MAA, both sitting below this range, yielding them 0 points. Next up is the WALT, short for weighted average lease term. And most of the time this number is overlooked by people. It tells you what the average lease term of the properties are. In general, the higher the better. A little side note, it can be very different per each REIT industry, what is acceptable. But in general, I want this number above 10 years minimum. And coming in first is Vici Properties, reporting a WALT of 41 years, which is insanely high. WPC managed to report 12.2 years, earnings 2 points. And coming in third we have ADC at 11 years. Both EPR and MAA didn't mention anything in their latest earnings presentation, which is a bit concerning to me. And Stag Industrial is only sitting at 4.3 years, also a bit concerning if you ask me. And finally, we have the dividend stats, the thing that most people have waited for. Starting things off with the dividend yield. In general, the higher the better for most people, but don't fall for a dividend trap here. Personally, I'm aiming for a dividend yield in the range of 3 to 7%, with REITs, really depending on a lot of other numbers as well, such as safety and growth. Coming in first we have EPR with 7%, which is an insane number of course, earning the full 3 points here. Second we have WPC, a whopping 6.5%, also really impressive. And third is a shared place between Vici Properties and Realty Income, both reporting dividend yield at 5.8%, earnings 1 point. And next to that dividend yield, we also want to see some dividend growth. Hence why the 5-year dividend compound annual growth rate is the best number to look at in my opinion. And coming in first is MAA, reporting 9%, which is an insane amount for a REIT. Vici is coming in second with 7.7%, also really impressive. And the third spot is claimed by ADC with 5.6%. And to be honest, I prefer a minimum of 5% here. So all the other companies are reporting significantly lower. And WPC and EPR even reported negative numbers here, meaning they decreased their dividend, something that is a red flag for me most of the time. But of course, really depending on the specific case. But not only the yield and compound annual growth rate are important. We also want to see a reliable track record. And tough times like the 2008 crisis or most recently the lockdown periods, we want to see that these companies are able to keep on growing their dividends. And Triple M claims the throne here with 34 years of consecutive increases. And Realty Income is coming in second with 27 years. Also really impressive. MAA gets 1 point for the third spot with 14 years, also doing an amazing job. WPC has no consecutive years of dividend increases, and EPR only has 2 years. Personally, I prefer a minimum of 5 years here. And now, one of the most important and overlooked numbers with dividends, the payout ratio, telling us how safe that dividend is. And keep in mind that REITs need to pay out 75% of their income to the shareholders, meaning we want a range of 60 to 80% here, which to me is the safe range. And we see that all companies are in that range, hence why all get 1 point. And last but not least, we have the total return in the 5 years, including dividends. Because this is what it all comes down to, at least for me. What's the point of owning a stock if you're not making any money on it? Then you would be better off owning the S&P 500 in my opinion, which is by far more steady. So in first we have Vici Properties, sitting at a whopping 47%. And for the second and third spot it is pretty close, with Stack Industrial reporting 29% and MAA reporting 28%. But Stack is the winner here, so they get the 2 points. ADC is coming in fourth with 18%, and all the other companies are reporting negative numbers, which is quite concerning if you ask me. Especially if you know that the S&P 500 reported a whopping 100% return in the past 5 years, twice the amount of Vici. And now the time has come to see who's the winner here. During the half break time we saw that Vici was coming in first with 14 points. Realty Income was second with 13 points, and third we had EPR with 10 points. Starting from the bottom of this list we have ADC with only 6 points, which is insanely low of course, and kinda surprising to me. Then we have MAA and Stack Industrial with 8 and 9 points respectively. And now the top 5, where we start with Triple M having 11 points. And coming in third we have WPC with 13 points. So, for the people who paid attention, we have the same contenders now as we did during the half break time. But there is only one REIT to receive the crown. And coming in third we have EPR with 16 points. And to be honest, I'm quite surprised that this company did so well. They are really steady and consistent in most areas and managed to report an insane net income growth together with the highest dividend yield. And now we have 2 companies left, Vici Properties and the famous Realty Income. Yielding 19 points, which is really impressive, but it is not enough to become the champion. Realty Income, getting maximum scores at portfolio size, revenue growth, credit ratings and net debt to EBITDA. Still one of the best REITs to invest in according to these criteria. But there can only be one winner, which is Vici Properties. And I have to say I'm also a bit surprised that this company did so well. Earning maximum points 4 times with FFO growth, price to FFO, WALT and the 5-year returns. And funny enough, Vici is also the biggest REIT as of this moment in my portfolio. And I'm planning to buy even more shares in the future. So which REIT are you buying? And what are your thoughts on these points? Did I miss anything, or do you think a different REIT can beat Vici Properties at this stage? Please let me know in the comments down below. And remember to always do your own research and never fully trust on what I or other YouTubers say about a stock. I'm not a financial advisor and this content is just for entertaining purposes only. I hope you liked this video and I did bring some insights of the companies to you. I would really appreciate a thumbs up and make sure to subscribe to get notified when I'm posting a new video. Thanks for watching and I will see you in my next video.